Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah, of course.
About somebody who we haven't talked a lot about because he just got here. But he has a history in this business, and we've seen how he moves and operates. Brad Treliving. Do you trust him based on what he did in Calgary as the guy to make over the roster in Toronto?
I don't hate some of the decisions he's made. I do hate some of the decisions he's made. He wouldn't be my first pick. They need stability in net. I think they moved in the right direction on D in terms of getting tougher. They got to be better at moving the puck. And up front, you have enormous changes to make. It's weird. Like, you know, Treliving built the Flames through defense, and then he prioritized goaltending by giving a huge contract to Jake Markstrom. None of his decisions in his first year of building the Leafs look anything like the Calgary Flames.
I think it's a little unfair, to be honest, though, when he was brought in.
I think it's a lot of duct tape.
I like
it's a lot of. If you look at get through
do you
this
trust
year,
him, Adam?
I like some of the moves. I can tell you for sure that Max Domi's representatives multiple times during the Dubas era contacted the Toronto Maple Leafs directly and said, this player wants to be here.
Darren Ferris.
Yeah, I can tell you that not just Darren Ferris, though other people within Max's camp said, what would it take to make Max a Toronto Maple Leaf? And the Dubas administration the entire time said, not interested. Thank you. And I think Max Domi was the signing of the offseason for the Toronto Maple Leafs. This guy plays quickly. He's got incredible vision. His feet never stop. There are warts to Max Domi's game. But guess what? At $3 million, find me a player where you don't.
Penguins fans, you're one of the biggest fan bases we got. You've been with us the longest. I have a soft spot for the Penguins. I'm fighting demons right now.
Yeah.
I am fighting fucking demons right now hearing that shit.
And
I am fighting for my life. Goku and Vegeta are bouncing off the insides of my skull right now.
Max Domi was really good, I think, throughout the entire season. It was fun
when he got off David Camp's wing. It
was fun to see him grow.
Yes.
Because at the beginning of the season, there were struggles with how he was deployed in the lineup. And as the season went on, Sheldon Keefe understood what kind of player he had, which was a very good playmaker. And if you put him in positions where he's able to make plays, where he's not just dying on the wing somewhere, he's a very effective player. And if they can get him back at a small amount or a reasonable amount, that's somebody who needs to be a Leaf for a long time.
Dude, and the way Nye's evolved.
Hold on.
That line, jail forever, that line.
So let's go through some of the other Treliving acquisitions, okay? So we look at Tyler Bertuzzi, which was the most expensive one. 1 year deal. Listen, let's be honest. Tyler Bertuzzi did not start last offseason going, I want to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. Doesn't mean that he hates Toronto. I just don't think he ever had any ambition to play here.
It was very much Taylor Hall.
Yeah, with Sabres.
Last person at the dance. Let's go to the center. Yeah.
And Tyler came in, and he wants a long-term deal. His next deal, he wants 6, 7, 8 years. Don't blame him. And he was snake bit for the majority of the year. The advanced numbers were looking really good on him, and all of a sudden hit just before the All-Star game, and you see the Tyler Bertuzzi that we wanted to see. And I think people are looking at his stat line in this playoff series and going, oh, this player didn't show up. I think you're out of your mind. I think this player...
He took some dumb penalties.
Okay, fine, but he directly challenged, along with Max, Brad Marchand, who honestly wasn't... He was a factor, but he wasn't great in this series.
Brad Marchand had 2 games where it was just all Brad. Like, I thought...
I'd say one.
I'd say
what
one
was the
too.
Second one?
Games, I'd say four where he dominated,
Yeah.
and the other one where he scored the game-winning goal.
Is that 3? Were we
Was
there?
it 2? Or is it? It was 3.
We were there at
It was
3.
3.
I didn't think he was that good in that game, though.
Yeah, but
I think he scored the goal.
showed up where it mattered.
My point is that Brad Marchand in the previous series with the Leafs was dominant. He wrecked them whether they won or lost. He always won the mental game.
Yeah.
He didn't win that in this series, and I think a large part of that is due to Tyler Bertuzzi.
He was avoiding the mess.
Yes.
He usually caused the distraction. He's avoiding the mess at this stage in his career.
And so I give Bertuzzi a ton of credit for that. I like that signing a lot. The Klingberg thing, okay, it didn't work.
And
sat on it.
Brad Marchand Game 3 had 2 goals, 1 assist.
Maybe that's the game I'm thinking of.
Game 4, he had a goal and an assist. I thought both games,
okay,
he showed up where it mattered.
So
he put up the points.
I would just compare and contrast that with 18 and 19, where he was a fucking menace the entire time, and
Right.
the
bar's a little higher for him.
punked the Leafs the entire series.
But he's 36 now.
Okay.
Like,
So, but as it pertains to Bertuzzi, I think Bertuzzi did a great job stopping it. People gave Brad a tough time about Klingberg early in the year. You know, we talk about, there's a lot of people tweeting about the fact that, the Leafs needed a puck-moving defenseman in this series. That was supposed to be the guy. The other guy was Dumba. I would have gone Dumba, but Dumba hasn't looked that great either. And Klingberg had a hip injury and his hips fell apart on a plane.
He's golfing too.
He's golfing,
I don't know if you
and if Klingberg plays again in the NHL, I'll be surprised. It's one of those where it's an injury thing. It's not a player thing.
Dude, a transatlantic flight ruined his tenure as a Leaf.
Yeah. So we look at the other.
He played we saw his last game as a Leaf.
Yeah.
It was
Minnesota, wasn't it?
Canucks.
No, Canucks.
And it was a great game. That was a game where Giordano fought Dakota Joshua. Domi fought Ian Cole. Robertson scored the winner. And Klingberg looked really good. And they flew to Sweden. And they're like, he can't play. And people are like, all right. This is the Leafs playing their LTIR games. But everyone on the ground who saw Klingberg, they're like, oh, no, he's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
He's fucked up. I saw him in the dressing room. I didn't see him moving around, but everyone said they're like, oh, yeah, this dude can't walk.
And it wasn't a matter of if, but when, because
Mhm.
he was dealing with that back injury for a long time. It's
Hip.
hip injury.
One and the
It's
same.
It's all the same
people.
in there.
Yep.
And it was just a matter of like what that thing was going to be to just hold him on the sidelines forever.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was that plane ride.
Then you look at some of the acquisitions that he made, moving on, Ryan Reeves, which was perplexing to all of us. And there were times this year where Ryan Reeves was not great. And there were times this year where he was an absolute lightning bolt through
Just
that team.
A menace.
And he did help change how the team acted on the ice. Whether or not he's going to be, he might be a 40-game player the rest of his career, and might play the first couple of games of a playoff round and then sit the way kind of he did this year. But Ryan Reeves brought a sense of, no, we're going to fight back on this now. Along with Bertuzzi and along with Domi, that changed the tenor of this team. They are tougher. They did find the snot they were looking for. They just didn't find the goals they were looking for. Then you look at, who else did they get? Connor Dewar, valuable player, didn't give up much.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I'm sure they'll re-sign him. Joel Edmondson, I actually really liked Joel Edmondson's game.
Dude, he fucking flattened David Pastrnak. And no Leaf fan is going to remember it. Because he got up off the mat and put him to bed.
Mm-hmm. And then who else do we have on that list?
Lyubushkin.
Lyubushkin was good with Riley. Was he tied with Mitch Marner in points?
He was
in the
1 point
series?
off the team lead in scoring.
And then you look at then you're getting into like the weeds with Noah Gregor, which I don't know. Do we need to?
Come on.
So
Zabata,
do I trust Brad? I trust that Brad knows what the issues are. He tried to address them.
I agree with that. And, wasn't even allowed on the draft floor for the first however many picks. This is going to be a summer that defines Brad Treliving's tenure as Leafs GM.
Yes.
And again, it feels like we're treating his last summer as a throwaway. That's what Brendan Shanahan did. Mm-hmm. He made it so.
And yet we still had really good productive results from the guys he did bring in.
Yeah.
Domi is staying, by the way, in my opinion. I think they're going to get an extension.
I hope so. They got to keep one of those dudes.
If Bertuzzi wants to stay, I think the Leafs would keep him, but I don't know that he does. Because
he wasn't looking, like you said, he wasn't looking to sign with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and unfortunately the long-term deal wasn't out there for him. So I assume this offseason he's going to go looking for the long-term deal once again, and if it's there, he'll take it.
And it will be there because the cap's going up, and who wouldn't want a player like that? Leafs, he's exactly what the Leafs need.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got that stuff going on. I think the Leafs have two major things they need to address this year. They need a goalie. That has gone to the top of the list.
They got Joseph Wall. Like, they need a 1B. Like, Joseph Wall is my 1A forever.
Like,
for now, I should say.
Wool Hildeby.
Oh, no.
Nah.
It's
your third.
too young. It's too young. I don't think you can do that next year.
No, you can't.
And if you do it next year, you can't do it out of camp. You got to have an older guy in there who's a puck stopper.
I hate to say it.
Stop pucks.
The perfect goalie for the Leafs to get is a guy that they won't get, but it's a perfect guy to get is Linus Ullmark. That's exactly the type of goalie you need. And
I wonder.
Yeah, but you have to trade for him.
What? No, that's what I'm saying. They won't get him, but that's the archetype I'm talking about. You're talking about a guy who's got a record of playing a lot of games under pressure,
record of splitting,
and a record of splitting too. He'd be perfect.
I mean, really, they need a goalie. They either need to get a true starter, which those don't grow on trees, or you need someone who can help you usher in Joseph Woll into being a starter. And that's really hard. That's like, you might have to step in as the starter for bits of time, whether he's injured or just gets cold because he's young. Really difficult to find.
The Leafs have not invested in a starting goaltender since Frederik Andersen. It's time. And if Woll turns out to be the starter of the future, and I agree with you, Jesse, I think all the way, let him steal the job from the guy you acquire this summer. Let him fight for it.
Like Swayman did with Ullmark. You know?
Yeah. Let them fight it out in a healthily competitive way.
It took him less than a season to wrestle the job away from the dude who won the Vezina.
I think it's a little easier than we're painting the picture with the goaltending thing, because you can just accumulate the goaltenders and just kind of see what works out. And I look at the teams like Dallas, who has Ottinger, and Winnipeg, who has Hellebuck, and how rare that is. And like Vancouver with Demko, and Demko's out, and they're winning a series. Like, I feel like it's kind of fine if you find the 1B and maybe 2 1Bs, because you have this tremendous amount of cap space that you're not spending on your goaltenders. Joseph Woll is going to make less than $800K next year. Your goaltender,
unbelievable.
The position's kind of free, and go get 2 $3 million guys and let them all figure it out, and have Joseph Woll as your 1A or 1B, and have the guys split time. And a situation like Vegas, where Aiden Hill is now the starter again in the series, because Logan Thompson was the starter the whole time, and he was the best player.
Logan Thompson, by the way, another dude making dirt.
Yeah, and those are just kind of found pieces. And goaltending these days, to me, is just kind of throw as much stuff at the wall as you can. You might have your young guy like they have in Joseph Woll, who's kind of the future there, and then just find something else that kind of works in tandem.
I think there are plenty of goalies available who don't have high-end capabilities. Samsonov has high-end capabilities, and we've seen them sometimes. But he's such a wild card. You just need stability. You just need to know how to go about your day. Mm-hmm. If you're a defenseman on this team, how do you prepare for any game with that guy in net? How do you prepare for any game not knowing where the fuck the goalie's going to be on any given play?
Right. And I think that's the not being able to trust your goaltenders a little more common than we realize in the National Hockey League, because in the playoffs, if we look at the playoffs right now, Vegas has started 2 guys. Boston started 2 guys. The Islanders started 2 guys. Vancouver started 3 guys.
They got a shutout in a series-deciding game from their 3rd stringer.
I've named 4 teams there. I'm not even done. LA started 2 guys. There's 5 teams, just off the top of my head, in the first round of the playoffs who've started 2 goaltenders. Toronto, 6. Our Leafs, 6 teams have started 2 guys. Goaltending right now is so fragile that the Leafs have something in Joseph Woll, and the other guy doesn't have to be this all-world stud that they have to go out and get.
If Justus Annunen wasn't sick, I think the Avalanche might be added to that list.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, they're not, but they wanted to move off of Georgiev so bad, and then he got good.
If Hellebuck doesn't have his contract in the Vezina Trophy season that he just had, Brossois probably gets a game.
Yeah,
with how shaky Hellebuck was.
They should see if he's available.
He did play,
and he got pulled.
Hey, there's a guy. Love a Laurent Brossois as a Toronto Maple Leaf goaltender.
I actually don't hate that at all.
I'll take Brossoit.
So all that is to say that I think they need a goalie.
Mhm.
And we've already been talking about the fact that the defense needs revamping, and Brad wants big, scary, mean guys with a couple of puck movers. He lost his secondary puck mover. John Klingberg was supposed to be that guy. And Matt Dumba, I don't know which to believe. Was it that the Leafs wanted him and he ultimately chose Arizona because he had rental properties down there? Or was it they didn't offer him as much as Arizona did? I've heard both stories. I don't know.
Let me throw this out there.
And they didn't want him at the deadline, which was weird.
Because he did play like crap.
Timothy
And he
Liljegren
wasn't good in Tampa either.
Timothy Liljegren was supposed to be that guy. Like, the Leafs took him out for TJ Brody. It was brutal. Liljegren was then pretty good this series. And from his first shift in Game 7, I'm like, ooh, boy, he's fucking treading water.
The Leafs can't forget, though, that defense, playing the defensive side of the game, was very good in this series when they won games.
And that's why I keep Bush and Edmondson.
The problem was getting offense from those defensemen as well. Like, they struggle with puck-moving defensemen.
You're dumping to a team that wouldn't chase.
And guys creating offense from the defense, and scoring is the issue here. Brad created a great defensive team. It's in the end, they couldn't score. So you need to solve that from the defense out and the forward group.
And I think you can. Yeah. I think we've speculated about Mitch, we've speculated about John. You move some of that. I think the Leafs already have $11 million in cap space to go into this year with, and very few real RFA money. Like, you're gonna have to re-sign Dewar. Oh, it's not gonna be crazy expensive to do.
Liljegren's an RFA, like that kind of stuff.
He was making 1.4. Don't think he's even worth that yet.
Would Jake Muzzin be interested in a coaching job?
My whole thing
right
is
now. Isn't he coaching?
No, he's a scout. He's a scout right now. They're
with the
working
Leafs?
him up through the.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't think you can officially call him that because he's collecting a player's paycheck.
Oh,
but isn't his contract done?
Yeah, this season, it's done.
3 LTIR contracts coming off. Who is it? Muzzin,
Yeah, Murray, Klingberg, and Muzzy.
Klingberg, right.
Yeah.
So
wow, that's a lot of red.
Mm-hmm. The team's gonna look completely different come October.